Hello, this is a reading for Pisces for 2024. We're streaming this right now. I'm recording it for YouTube. So if you found us on YouTube, hello, welcome. And if you want to see more readings, you can come and see us on Twitch. Sometimes we do YouTube stuff, but not too much. Who knows, maybe that'll change. But I say that every year. Doesn't seem to be the leaning of things. YouTube's kind of like a storage unit. It's happening. Where tarot is actually happening is on Twitch. And if you watch YouTube tarot readings, you haven't seen anything yet. You got to come see all the readers on Twitch. That's where tarot is at. Pisces. We got flashed the Queen of Pentacles, right? I think that's what I saw. I was looking up at the chat here. So if you hear me talking to people in the chat, that's just because we're also streaming this. First card comes kind of, not revealed right away. Ooh, I just got this like real pressure feeling in my head. And there's something up with the audio and the visual. It's delayed. Hopefully that changes. Maybe it'll catch up in a second. I think it's starting to catch up. Oh no. Well, we'll see. There's a delay. There's a slight delay in something. This is a Four of Pentacles, and it came across on Virgo's reading as like I don't want to, like doing things you don't want to do. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to talk about work. That was a Virgo thing. So yeah, we're back caught up here. That's good. This might be a little bit more delayed. There might be something maybe around April that you don't want to do. That you don't want to... Pardon me for I'm clearing my throat and the microphone like that. Oh, relationship. Pisces. Two of Cups. And what don't you want to do? And I see in this Four of Cups, the gaze is this way. So I don't want to... Ace of Wands. I don't want to... In the Ace of Wands. It's preserving a relationship and not wanting to go after something of a passion. 2024, of course, there's a lot more going on than relationships, but I guess it makes sense to a Pisces that there would be a heavy leaning toward relationships or relating, or that's just like a given, right? With Pisces. Pisces is like the most advanced sign in all of the zodiac. It's the most mature sign. And even Pisces are still struggling with relationships. So if you find yourself struggling with relationships and you're not a Pisces, just keep in mind, it's not because you're less mature of a, energy. Everybody struggles, even Pisces. This is like a not wanting to pursue a personal interest because there's a fear that it would interfere with a relationship. And this is 10 of Pentacles. Meanwhile, this personal interest is accompanied by a whole lot of support. It's basically like the 10 of Pentacles is the bee's knees. It's got everything for you. Not going there even though you'd like to, not going there even though you want to. Despite the fact, it's almost like this has done everything for you. Like everything is here to take care of you. And meanwhile, there's something about, it's not a sacrifice. It's just kind of doing less of it or not doing any of it at all in support of a relationship, or at least to preserve a relationship. Meanwhile, is that the way things work? Are there only so many resources to spend and you have to take resources away from one thing in order to have resources to do another thing? Is that the way it really works? Is that the type of thing? Are we talking about money specifically? Like not spending money on a passion of yours in order to have money for a relationship? Meanwhile, this seems to pay really well. I don't know. It's like you have to spend money to make money. Ace of Swords and the Three of Swords. I see you're about to give something up. I don't know. This kind of seems too typical for Pisces. Always on the verge of, trying to decide what the best decision is all the time, right? What's the best thing to do, and just devastated when they didn't make the best choice ever. That's not always Pisces, but that's kind of the Pisces feel. It's like, let's take this as far as it can go. Let's go all the way. And when we go all the way, there's just this moment where you have to decide what the best course is, what takes you all the way. So it's more the nature of all the way than it is the nature of Pisces, and it's just more Pisces tends to go after all the way. All in. And how can you be, it's like for a Pisces to not be all in on anything, is that maybe striking you as unnatural or bizarre or a struggle to withhold or not spend resources. And it's limited, scarce resources is in the Four of Pentacles, but the Ten of Pentacles kind of reminds me that, we have multiple ways of seeing our resources, that they're limited, or that if we get in with the right, crowd of people, all of a sudden the limits are gone. Yes, this is Pisces. Just answering the chat there. I feel like it's an environment change. There's what's best for the environment in terms of how the environment everybody takes care of each other. And then there's what's best for the heart. I do see that there's like separate energies here. So it could be that there is a relationship over here and there's an environment over here. And there's just this kind of sensation of scarce resources, maybe time, maybe money, and having to withhold resources. Even though this is something that you really enjoy, there's like to preserve a relationship. That's one way I could see it. Another way I see it is that it's all one and the same. That this has been about money for too long. This has been about time for too long. It's like, do you really have to? Is it really scarce, the resource that you're talking about? Is it, does this environment suffer if you don't, does the relationships, do the relationships you have in this environment that you're in now actually suffer if you don't? And I see this experimenting with withholding resources, whatever this resource is, time, money, focus is a resource. And do the relationships suffer if you withhold scarce resources? That's maybe a question that's coming up for Pisces this year. An experiment is okay. It's, try it, see how it feels. It's maybe a new idea, maybe a new way of approaching things. Like, is it supposed to be, does the relationship part stand on its own aside from this kind of sharing of resources? I see Ace of Swords, Three of Swords. I see an instant reaction right away. It's like, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe. And so I see you withholding some resources from an environment where relationships exist, either that or withholding resources from an environment to kind of preserve them for a relationship elsewhere. It's one of those two things, I'm not sure. And I'm seeing an instant reaction. And so in the first case where the relationships exist in this environment and you're just wondering if you need to spend as much time with this environment or spend as much money on this environment or focus on this environment as much. Like, is it so, like, what are they here for? Are they here for your money or are they here for something else? And one of the ways of understanding if they're here for something else is, well, take the money away and what are you left with? There would be something to that, like an experiment. But there's also like an instant reaction from this side here, the relationship part. Like, so I feel like if this is a together thing, if this is like where the relationships exist inside this environment where you're experimenting with kind of scaling back on how many resources you contribute, the relationships do suffer initially. Reaction wise, I feel like there is a like, how could you do this? Like, how could you, and there is an expression here that one of these swords belongs to the people in this environment, like whoever this is. Let's say it's one person who's like especially hurt that you maybe spend less time or with them, or and it's maybe more because it's just something different that you're doing this year. One person in particular, or maybe there's like the idea that I'll just use one person to express something that might be expressed more communally. That part of what's hurting them is the way that they're perceiving it. It's what they're receiving from your actions. It's not fully that way. Like it's all valid hurt, but it feels like to me the Ace of Swords is telling me that this sword is stabbing right into this heart, just like any other thing. So maybe one of them is your actions hurt them and they're hurting themselves with how they're perceiving your actions. And this relationship was maybe already strained or something. I don't know what else to say about it. It doesn't have to be the number 3. It's a little bit more like it comes from a lot of different places. That you withholding resources from something could never be the whole reason why someone gets hurt. You're never the only reason, is a message for you to keep in mind. The 6 of Cups. After everything I've done for you. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is a very like emotional reading, very emotional. Lots of feelings being tossed around, or at least lots of words being tossed around about feelings. Like, after everything I've done for you. After everything we've worked for. Well, that's something to keep in mind as I get the cards. Maybe something will come out of this. I don't want to... Whew. There we go. Ushering in a new way of doing things. This is very 2024. We're getting this big message about, an openness to doing things in a new way. And it could be Ace of Wands, that the expectation of result is that it will be something like the phrase, oh, I can't believe you're doing this after everything I've done for you, is kind of like one of those phrases that one might expect to hear from this type of environment. How could you do this to me? And we kind of, when somebody says, how can you do this to me? We kind of already know that involves more than what you did. Let's also... what do you want? What do you want? Pisces, as much as this could be very well the literal experience that you have with something in 2024, I feel like this little development here in the cards with the Magician and the 9 of Cups is telling me this is a little bit more about the expectation. Ace of Wands. Like, the expectation being kind of like, this is very complicated. It's very advanced. It's what attracts you to an environment is sometimes the sameness of it and what you come to expect from that environment. You're attracted to what you're expecting to be attracted to. And if you're expecting the environment to react to a difference in your allocation of resources, if you're expecting that environment to react with this, how could you do this to me after everything I've done for you? If you're expecting that, there's something to be said for your continued willingness to participate in that environment involves like, there's something maybe to be said for the idea that there's something that you like about someone who would react with your, it's like your absence. That they would be hurt if you left is part of the attractive factor. So there's something to be said about that. And there's a new way that comes out of a situation that might just be, you might just not have as much time to spare for some reason, for an environment that normally you would just kind of like play a part in at the rate you do. You're being encouraged to wonder about something. Magician is wondering, it's creative energy. You're being encouraged for 2024 to envision something new. And this is I can see this as like something that repeats itself with the ace and the ace. It's just kind of like it bounces off. It's almost like this this loop, or, you know, they get hurt if they'd be hurt if you were gone. They need you. And you like that they need you. And they need you, and they'd be hurt if you're gone. And in a way, because you like that they need you, you kind of also like that they'd be hurt if you were gone. And it's not that you're leaving an environment. I don't see any travel. I don't see any kind of sense that you're not going to be there. It just seems like specifically resources are going to be withheld from an environment, or maybe there's just a situation temporarily where you would withhold resources. And it looks to me like there's just this cycle playing out, where it's kind of like it's destined to fulfill itself. There's no point in doing an experiment of withholding resources from an environment where you already know how they're going to react. There's no point in experimenting with that. And if it's to verify that they, you know, this is kind of like to verify if someone would be upset if you weren't there. Okay, well, it can kind of get manipulative in here. Like to kind of withhold your resources from something just to verify that they'd still be upset if you were gone, you know, like not saying that's you, Pisces. That's just saying we can kind of understand in this loop that that's something that might go down if we don't think of something else. There's a whole other thing to read about this Two of Cups being a different environment than this Ten of Pentacles, but let's keep going with this. Thinking about a different way out, or like a different perspective on this, involves creating something more about what you want before you create your experiment of how to adapt. Starting with what you want, rather than starting from the position of having to withhold in order to achieve something. Start from the position of what you want to achieve. That's what's being said here. I don't know exactly. We'll read about this. Pardon me. Let's just circle back here. A corporate lingo. Let's circle back to this Two of Cups. In the event where it's an environment that you are withholding resources from in order to kind of salvage or save resources for a different relationship. It's kind of like, you know, it would be you're spending more time with certain friends over others. Even though these are longtime friends, this might be a new friend or something like that. There is the new friend or this other relationship where the person in the other relationship is upset. How could you do this to them? Isn't that interesting? It's like almost like Pisces is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like no matter what way you go, no matter who you like, if you do it for them, it's like you're wanting to scale back on some resources that you're spending on something. And it's if you scale back on the resources that environment will be hurt. People in that environment will be hurt. And so that's no good. Even if you do it for someone else, the person you do it for would be hurt. So it's like, oh, that's no good either. There's no way out. There's no way to achieve this scaling back on resources if we're stuck in this loop. Even if there's a good reason to do it. Even if there is a reason, like good, bad, whatever. Even if there is a reason to do it, no matter what the reason, it's difficult. And I feel like there's a desire for it to be much easier. Because the 9 of Cups is just kind of got your ducks in a row. Everything's working out. And this is like the ideal. It's like, rather than having this like conundrum of being stuck between a rock and a hard place, wouldn't it be better if it was just like everything was worked out? And so I think what you're being asked to do is, rather than center yourself in the problem, to center yourself maybe in an imagination space, in a solution, not knowing what the solution is, but what are these things that you would like to have? Maybe we're missing something. Maybe we're so in it that we're missing out on what might be something you don't even need to solve. 2 of Pentacles. Like wanting something to take care of itself. I'm sorry, Pisces. This is like, it would be, in its magical thinking, there's Pisces with the magical thinking, right? It's like, wouldn't it just be great if everything would just take care of itself, and then you could just do what you want to do? The problem will resolve itself is definitely the message. Definitely the message. And I would say that there's something about a Pisces especially that will have this maybe aversion to that message because of how many times they've been caught up in expecting things to solve themselves and they don't. There's, or at least wishing things would solve themselves, and that just delays the inevitable having to do the thing, that dreaded thing. This is good. I wish it would just take care of itself so I could just get going. And get going toward what, Pisces? I'm laughing at Pisces right now. Sorry. Get going at what, Pisces? Like, I wish it would just take care of itself, this conundrum, so I could just get going. As if Pisces could ever put this conundrum down. Like, as if anything could reassure a Pisces that, everything's taken care of. Once you perceive this conundrum, you're not going to be able to forget about it, that it exists. And so anytime you see yourself as removing yourself or heading toward something else, you're going to feel like you're betraying what you've left. Pisces is an energy that has a very complicated process toward change. And 2024 is all about change. And I would say that what we're reading, I'm laughing at you, Pisces, because this is so, it's dramatic and also lovely to still hold space for that dream that it would just work itself out, even though you can't let go of your awareness that if you, it's more like you can get yourself stuck in a loop sometimes of this inescapable conundrum or this inescapable dilemma. No matter what way you slice it, you're gonna hurt somebody's feelings, or you're going to disrupt somebody, or you're going to disrupt something. And when you're in that, there's something here about holding still some space for hoping that things work themselves out, even though you know full well that no matter what you do, ultimately who you betray is yourself. It's like, it's because this is you in the relationship here. And I'm just seeing that like, this is like, it's a fun fantasy to carry that things will take care of themselves. And you could maybe potentially just go to a place where you're the only one who gets hurt, where all these swords, they just like that you could absorb them all. And so that nobody else has to get hurt. And I just wonder, like, what's this card? Strength. Do you give people enough credit? Pisces. This year it's a strange year. It looks like it feels very strange. It feels very dreamy. Like things are just moving without much, we saw it like a slow reveal, like a melting, but slowly. And everything's just kind of like that, like monotone. 2024, and everything's just kind of moving. And all I can do is just feel the energy. It's just, and watch it. Like it's a machine. It just keeps going and going and going. I'm hearing here exactly, but the safe environment I don't want versus a simpler way of living my own way is very much the vibe. Yeah, I hear you. That's good. That's it. That's just the chat. There's another thing for you, Pisces. You're getting a bit of a, do you know how capable people are? Do you appreciate the King of Wands came out in the previous reading we did for Virgo. So you can watch that too to kind of get a feel for what this King of Wands is. But you might be encountering, there might be Virgo energy in here, very earthy. And there might be something to be said for even Virgos can totally transform their roles. Like we might say Pisces is a dreamer, and look at how amazing it is that even though Pisces will dream all the way to the place where they allow themselves to be the only one who gets hurt in a situation. And it's like, how is that anything to do with 10 of Pentacles? How is that loyal to take on all of the weight of everything? That's not loyal. That's not sharing. That's withholding. Withholding resources from a communal environment is dreaming about situations where you're the only one who could get hurt. And it's like, just to go up in this other direction, to acknowledge kind of almost like how funny it is sometimes that it's so possible. Pisces is such a dreamer that you could even dream up stuff like this. And that in this dreaming, you might miss something that's sitting right in the middle of it all, this King of Wands. And over here even, something that initially makes you very proud to be a part of where you are. Might be because you know how strong everybody is. You know how much people care for you. This is King of Wands. It's like an environment where everybody gives the shirt off their back, where you want everybody to be clothed and you're the only one who gets naked. That's kind of the way to put it. That is in a way that's basically not participating in that environment. That is you withholding your resources. Your resource is to assume that everyone has the courage and the strength to adapt to changes and to not take on all the weight for yourself, because it's not all yours, because the very nature of the place that would tell you that they're upset, that how could you do this to me, is a place where people are supposed to be sharing the load. And so change is hard. And you might want to bring yourself into a little bit more awareness this year when you're going through changes about this kind of funny part of Pisces energy. The ability to dream yourself out of away from reality. The reality of the situation is that self-sacrifice is not is not a part of communal living, where you're the only one who suffers the consequences, is not a way of being a part of a community. And it's just so lovely because it's all so well-meaning, but also, where are you going with that? Do you see yourself going to a place with that where you'll keep going? Or do you see yourself maybe turning around and taking a look at how that in itself is you not being a part of a community? I hope that makes sense. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm off the rails a bit. This is very dreamy energy. I've gotten to the limit of like what I can understand about it. I'm sure go to a Pisces reader to finish this one off. I don't know. Are there Pisces tarot readers? Oh, there's some thoughts in the chat here. As a Pisces, I always say, I'll just take the blame. But I've felt that way. Like I need the strength to make up my mind that's already been made up. But yes, I think the point made about giving people credit is also a huge thing. It's like taking a risk and stepping away from the people that care about you the most, which I already experimented with a little last year. And now I'm back in the same community to move towards a life that resonates with your own soul more. Exactly. It's about what you want. And if what you want is to bear the weight of all the bad things that happen so that nobody else has to, then what you're basically saying is that you don't want to be a part of a community that takes care of you. So it's kind of funny. It's ironic. I don't know the way out. I'm just here to read cards. Do what you will with that. Thank you so much for watching the reading. Again, if you want to come see us do readings on Twitch, oh, we're around. Same name. Come follow the channel. You'll get a notification when we go online. Take much care. Happy 2024. Bye.